Ladies and gentlemen, your brain is not designed to keep you calm. It's designed to keep you alive. That's a critical distinction most people don't understand. The brain's primary job, especially the older, more primitive parts like the amygdala, is survival. That means it is constantly scanning your environment, both physically and emotionally, for threats. It's not looking for peace, it's looking for problems. And when it thinks it's found one, boom, your nervous system lights up like a Christmas tree. Heart races, palms sweat, thoughts scatter, and all of a sudden, you're spiraling, reacting, yelling, shutting down, or overthinking. Sound familiar? This isn't happening because you're weak. It's not happening because you lack discipline. It's happening because that's how the human brain is wired. So stop beating yourself up every time you lose your cool. You're not broken. You're operating on old programming. The trick is, once you understand this, you can rewire it. But you can't change something you don't understand. And that's where most people get stuck. When you learn how your mind works, you give yourself power. The moment you realize your panic or stress is just your brain trying to protect you, you create space between you and your reaction. That space, that's where your power lives. That's where you get to choose how you respond instead of just reacting like you always have. But here's the kicker. You don't get access to that choice unless you train for it. Let me ask you this. How often do you practice staying calm when nothing is going wrong? Most people wait until everything is falling apart to try and be calm. But that's like stepping into a boxing ring without ever having trained. You can't expect to be calm in chaos if you haven't built the muscle for it in peace. Your brain needs repetition. It needs habits. It needs proof that you're safe. Even when things feel uncertain, this is where most people give up. They think staying calm is a personality trait, that some people are just naturally chill or unbothered. Nope. Calm is not something you're born with. Calm is built. It's developed through consistent, intentional work. It's created through awareness, through practices like mindfulness, breathing, journaling, and being radically honest with yourself. It's built every time you pause instead of lash out, every time you breathe instead of argue, every time you reflect instead of react. Those moments seem small, but they're massive because they're rewiring the pathways in your brain. See, the amygdala, the fear center of your brain, activates in 1/5 of a second. It's lightning fast. It's meant to be. But you know what else you have? A prefrontal cortex. That's the rational part of your brain. That's the part that helps you think clearly, solve problems, and stay calm under pressure. But it's slow. And it only comes online when you pause. That's the goal. That's what training your mind is about. It's learning how to catch yourself in the heat of the moment before your old wiring takes over. It's learning how to disrupt the panic, the anger, the fear, and choose something different. And yes, that takes practice. That takes self-awareness. That takes doing the work when you don't feel like it. But if you want to own your life, you've got to own your mind. Because the world isn't going to slow down for you. Life's going to keep coming. Things will still go wrong. People will still push your buttons. Challenges will still pop up. But when you train your mind to stay calm, none of that can shake you the same way. You become unshakable, not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. Your calm becomes your power. Your presence becomes your anchor. And instead of reacting to life, you start responding with intention. You stop being at the mercy of your emotions and you start taking back control. That's not a gift. That's a decision. That's a skill. And it's one that you can start building right now. Emotions are powerful. They can drive us to take action, inspire us to grow, and connect us to others in ways that are deeply human. But here's the truth that most people don't realize. Your emotions are data, not directives. Just because you feel something doesn't mean you have to act on it. Just because something feels urgent or overwhelming doesn't mean it's true or permanent. Your feelings are valid, yes, but they are not facts. They are signals, not orders. Your brain creates emotions as part of a response system. It processes information, what you see, hear, remember, believe, and then assigns an emotional meaning to it. That's where feelings come from. But that process isn't perfect. In fact, it's heavily influenced by your past, your fears, your insecurities, and even your mood in the moment. So when you feel anxious or angry or rejected, you're not necessarily responding to what's happening now. Often, you're reacting to what something reminds you of. That argument you had today, it might not even be about today. That anxiety about the future, it might be triggered by a fear you've carried for years. That's why learning to observe your emotions is so important, not to suppress them, not to ignore them, but to understand them. When you pause and get curious about what you're feeling, you create a gap, a powerful moment of awareness. You get to ask yourself, is this real or is this a story I'm telling myself? Is this emotion giving me insight or is it pulling me into a reaction I'll regret? This is emotional intelligence, and it's a skill, not a trait. Most of us grow up never being taught how to interpret our feelings. We're told to calm down, get over it, or suck it up. So we either bottle things up until we explode or let our emotions run the show without questioning them. Neither of those approaches work in the long run. Real strength comes from understanding that your emotions are messages. And just like with any message, you can choose how to respond. You don't have to reply to every text you get, right? Same goes for your emotions. Just because fear shows up doesn't mean you have to listen. Just because anger rises doesn't mean you have to yell. Just because you feel like giving up doesn't mean you should. One of the most empowering things you can do is build the habit of checking in with yourself. Pause. Ask, what am I feeling right now? Where is it coming from? What's the story I'm telling myself, and is it true? That step alone, just asking questions, can help bring the rational part of your brain back online. It helps you see more clearly, respond more wisely, and avoid creating more chaos than necessary. Let's say you feel anxious about an upcoming presentation. Your mind starts racing. What if I mess up? What if they judge me? That anxiety is real, but it doesn't mean you're going to fail. It just means your brain is trying to protect you from embarrassment. It's highlighting a perceived threat. But if you can recognize it as a signal, not a verdict, you can prepare better. You can remind yourself that you've done hard things before. You can shift from panic to purpose. And here's the thing, when you stop reacting automatically to your emotions, you start reclaiming your peace. You stop being a puppet on the strings of every mood swing, every moment of self-doubt, every emotional spike. Instead, you become grounded. You become someone who can feel deeply but still act with clarity. That doesn't make you cold or detached. It makes you wise. Emotions will always be part of the human experience. You can't get rid of them, and you shouldn't want to. They give life richness and depth. But when you learn that emotions are information, not commands, you stop letting them drive your decisions. You start making choices based on your values, not your moods. You start responding to life from a place of strength, not reactivity. That's when everything changes. That's when you become someone who isn't just living. You're leading yourself with intention from the inside out. Every time you react without thinking, every time you snap, panic, or spiral, it's because your brain has skipped the pause, that tiny moment between stimulus and response. That's where your power lives. And when you train your mind to insert that pause, everything changes. You stop being a victim of your impulses. You stop letting the chaos of the world decide how you feel and what you do. Instead, you create space to choose. That's the power of the pause. The pause is not just a cute idea or a feel-good concept. It's a neuroscience-backed strategy. See, when something triggers you, stress, fear, frustration, Your brain immediately activates the amygdala. That's the fight or flight part of your brain. It's fast, reactive, and emotional. It was built for survival, not for thoughtful decision making. And when it takes over, it floods your body with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. That's why your heart races. That's why your palms sweat. That's why your mind goes blank or spirals. In that moment, your body is preparing for a threat, even if the threat is just a rude email or someone cutting you off in traffic. Here's what's wild, though. If you can pause, even for a few seconds, you give your prefrontal cortex a chance to come online. That's the rational problem-solving part of your brain. It's slower than the amygdala, but it's smarter. It helps you process context, regulate emotions, and make decisions based on long-term goals instead of short-term reactions. When you pause, you're not just calming down. You're changing the chemistry in your brain. You're literally shifting from panic to power. And you don't need a 30-minute meditation to do it. Sometimes all it takes is a breath. One slow, intentional breath can be enough to create the space you need to choose your next move. That breath interrupts the automatic loop. It's like hitting the brakes before you drive off a cliff. In that moment, you can ask yourself, what's really going on here? What do I actually want to do? Who do I want to be in this situation? That's the secret. You don't have to suppress your emotions. You just have to slow them down long enough to make a choice. And the more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. Like any muscle, the pause gets stronger with repetition. At first, you'll catch yourself after the fact. You'll react, then think, oh, I should have paused. That's okay. That's part of the process. Over time, you'll start catching yourself in the moment. Then eventually you'll be able to pause before you even react. That's when you know the training is working. Think about how powerful that is, how different your relationships would be if you paused before lashing out, how much more focused you'd be if you paused before picking up your phone out of habit, how many regrets you could avoid if you paused before making an impulsive choice. That pause gives you control, not over everything, but over yourself. And that's more than enough. The world is loud, it's fast, it's chaotic, and it's really easy to get swept up in it all. But when you build the habit of pausing, you anchor yourself. You create an inner stillness that doesn't depend on external circumstances. You become the calm in the storm instead of being tossed around by it. And here's what's beautiful. You always have access to the pause. No matter what's happening, no matter how crazy things get, that space is always there. You just have to remember to use it. The more you practice, the more automatic it becomes. You won't always get it right, but that's not the point. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is awareness. The goal is progress. So next time life hits you with something hard, don't react, pause, breathe, get curious, and then respond with intention. That one decision to pause might feel small in the moment, but it's everything. It's the beginning of emotional strength, clarity, and confidence. It's how you take back control of your mind one breath at a time. Your breath is one of the most powerful tools you have to calm your mind. And yet most people completely overlook it. We breathe all day, every day, without even thinking about it. But here's the thing. How you breathe directly impacts your mental and emotional state. When you're stressed, scared, or overwhelmed, your breathing becomes shallow and rapid. You might not even notice it happening, but your body does. Shallow breathing sends a signal to your nervous system that something is wrong, that you're in danger, that you need to fight, flee, or freeze. Now flip that around. When you breathe slowly and deeply, especially from your diaphragm, you send the opposite message. You're telling your nervous system we're safe, everything is okay. You don't need to panic. That one shift in your breathing can completely transform how you feel in the moment. It can interrupt a spiral of anxiety. It can stop an outburst of anger. It can help you focus, think clearly, and respond with intention. And the best part, you always have your breath, no matter where you are, no matter what's happening, no matter how out of control things feel, you can always pause and breathe. That's real power. That's inner control. You don't need a quiet room, a meditation app, or a yoga mat. You just need a moment and a decision to tune in. There's a reason why Navy SEALs, athletes, public speakers, and even surgeons train with breathing exercises. It works. One of the most effective techniques is called box breathing. It's simple. Breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold again for 4, then repeat. What this does is incredible. It balances your nervous system. It engages your parasympathetic response, the rest and digest mode that helps your body calm down. It slows your heart rate. It clears your mind. It grounds you. You might be thinking, seriously, just breathing? Yes, seriously. Because when your body calms down, your mind follows. And when your mind is calm, you make better decisions. You become more patient, more present, more powerful. That's not hype. That's science. Your breath is like a remote control for your brain. Most people just never learn how to use it. Think about how different your day would be if you built this into your routine. Imagine starting your morning not with stress, but with 3 deep, intentional breaths. Imagine using your breath before walking into a meeting, before responding to a difficult email, before having a tough conversation with someone you care about. It becomes a pause button for your nervous system. It becomes a moment of choice. And here's something else. Your breath is a direct path to self-awarenessness. When you're disconnected from your breath, you're usually also disconnected from your body and your emotions. You're stuck in your head, caught in overthinking, reacting automatically. But when you return to your breath, you return to yourself. You drop back into the present moment. You stop living in the past or fearing the future and start showing up for what's happening now. This isn't about turning into a monk or pretending life doesn't get messy. It's about giving yourself tools to navigate the mess without losing yourself in it. Life will still throw challenges your way. People will still frustrate you. Situations will still stress you out. But with your breath as your anchor, you don't have to be at the mercy of it all. You stay centered, you stay calm, you stay in control. The next time you feel tension rising in your body, stop. Close your eyes for a second if you can. Inhale deeply through your nose. Hold it. Exhale slowly through your mouth. Do it again. Feel the shift. Feel the space open up in your chest, your shoulders, your mind. That's your power. That's your reset button. Don't wait until you're overwhelmed to use it. Start making your breath part of your daily routine. Practice when things are calm, so it's there for you when things aren't. Because the more you use your breath intentionally, the more you teach your brain and body that calm is your baseline, not chaos. Your breath is your power. Use it, train with it, trust it, because in the middle of a storm, when everything else feels out of control, it might be the one thing that brings you back to peace. The way you speak to yourself matters more than most people realize. Your internal dialogue is shaping your reality every single day. Whether you are aware of it or not, you are constantly narrating your life. You're interpreting events, assigning meaning to them, judging yourself, predicting the future, and it's all happening in your head. That voice in your mind, it's influencing how you feel, how you act, and what you believe is possible. So, here's the question. Is that voice building you up or tearing you down? Most of us have developed an inner voice that's far more critical than it is kind. It's a voice that doubts us before we even start, that replays mistakes on a loop, that panics over the future and talks us out of opportunities. It says things like, I can't handle this, I'm not good enough, or this is going to be a disaster.